Welcome back to Flip That Script. I'm Dana,
And I'm Holly.
and today we're not whispering. Today we're not smoothing our edges or dimming our fire. Today we are naming the holy heat that lives beneath the surface, the fire that rises when you've been silenced too long, the burn that comes when your soul says enough. This is not petty. This is not chaos. This is sacred rage. It's the kind that breaks generational patterns, not windows. The kind that rebuilds the self, not just reacts to pain. And we're diving into how anger, yes, especially in women, is not the opposite of spiritual growth, but often it's the beginning of it. And we're exploring the different outlets of sacred rage, the difference between just setting things on fire or and burning down to rise up, between fury that wounds and fury that witnesses. So if you've ever been told that you're too much, if you've ever swallowed your truth to keep the peace, and if your body holds a scream that you've never released, this one's for you. So let's get unapologetically loud and let's talk sacred rage.
So sacred rage it's not a tantrum. It's not like uncontrolled fury or bitterness. It's not the kind of anger that just lashes out recklessly. Sacred rage is more holy. It's clean. It's the rage that rises from the deepest part of you, the part that remembers every time you were silenced, every time you were dismissed, every time you were touched without your consent, overlooked, talked over, or forced to swallow your truth to keep the peace. And that's different than anger. It's like the grief with fire in its bones. And it's the clarity that arrives when you can no longer pretend to be okay. So it's that energy that says, no more, not this time. I'm tired of this. I'm not crazy. I'm awake. I will not be small to soothe someone else's comfort. I think rage in women, especially sacred rage, is rarely random. It's embodied, it's earned, it comes from a lifetime of being told to be small, to be sweet, to smile when you're burning on the inside. It is the residue of survival in a world that has demanded our softness while ignoring our strength.
I think sacred rage is what rises when you realize your worth. It's when you realize that, you know, you have a right to exist fully in every capacity. It's that moment when you say no more. It's not out of spite, but out of a very deep self-respect. You have
Yeah.
self-worth. You finally realize that you deserve better and you deserve it all. It's not really chaos, it's more clarity. And it can come out in other ways when we're trying to hold it all in. It's going to seep out eventually. And like we had talked before, and instead about road rage, it can be come out there because we have to have an outlet while we're still trying to suppress it, as we're still trying to grow. We're trying to figure it out. And so that, guy that cut you off, it wasn't really the guy that cut you off that you're mad. You're angry that you had to be quiet all day, had to not say what you really wanted to say to somebody because you didn't feel safe. And you're safe in your car. You don't know the guy that cut you off. You can yell whatever you want to out the window at him and give him whatever gestures you want. That's safe. It's not really aggression, though. How would you say that, Holly?
I would say it's kind of like biting your tongue so long that it bleeds, and then you burst out with all of these words that you haven't said yet. that needs to be said. It's not about aggression. It's not the person who continually goes ballistic over everything every day, all day long. That's not sacred rage. Sacred rage is more of a controlled rage that will come out in different outlets like road rage or biting your tongue, or perhaps even misappropriating your rage towards someone because they're safe and not being able to say it to the person that you're really angry at, that's really, you know, made you feel the way that you're feeling. But it's not a sacred rage. You don't do that every day, day in and out. It's that once in a while that the rage has contained you so much. And the difference, I believe, with sacred rage as well is it's a healing tool. Once you're able to allow yourself to feel and get to the root of that rage, it's no longer there. But we have to remember, why do you think they created all these rage rooms, right? Where you go and smash dishes and take a baseball bat and beat whatever's in there, TVs or whatever they put in there. Because rage doesn't just live in our mind, it lives in our bodies. And sometimes we want to get it out so bad that it can manifest in a physical way. So it's good to scream. We stifle our screams. Go stand outside somewhere where nobody's at and just scream at the top of your lungs, just allowing some of that to get out. But sacred rage changes you. It transforms and transmutes the injustices that you feel into more clarity and growth and healing.
And yeah, it's like when you smile when you want to scream and you say everything's fine when it's really not. It's honestly, it's common in women. People socialized to be nice. You have to be nice. You suppress it. And then, I mean, it could come out, you start having migraines or even digestive problems, like we talked about earlier. And it can even give you insomnia, you have trouble sleeping. And it's like rage is almost like a grief. Sacred rage is almost like a grief, like a loss of your wholeness, loss of who you are. And it has nowhere to go. And, your boundaries that were never allowed to exist, you just deal with it. And you deal with it for so long, it just builds and builds and builds. It's like you have a dam and eventually it's going to leak. And that's where you get the road rage and the snapping and whatever. But the point of sacred rage is that you eventually will grow from it. Spiritually, emotionally, if you listen to it. You have to figure out where the rage is really coming from. Find it. Like, if you're finding yourself snapping on the road all the time, or snapping at, someone you love on occasion. I wouldn't say it all the time, but if you find yourself doing these things, maybe you want to sit down and think, what is really bothering? What is it that's really making me angry? Because it's not the spilled milk. It's not the guy who went when it was your turn to go. It's not the, insignificant little things that really get on your nerves, but that's not really it.
Yes.
There's like reactive rage too, where that can be caused by trauma. And it can make people hyper reactive to perceived threats. So the perceived threat that really isn't a threat, and you react to it, is there something else that you need to heal from? Again, sacred.
And I think, especially with women, if women do express rage, or even if they express just anger, they're labeled as hysterical, dramatic, emotional. or too much. They're seen as unstable and crazy and unhinged. And even professionally or socially are called difficult to work with. Women are expected to keep it together no matter what. And the message is very clear to us. If you're angry, you lose credibility.
Right.
So it's more like, he's passionate, he's problematic. He's commanding, she's confrontational. He's a leader, she's a liability because she spoke her truth.
Right.
And a lot of that comes from just the conditioning. Girls are raised to be nice, quiet, and accommodating. Anger is seen as unfeminine and undesirable. Many women were only allowed to cry. We were not allowed to scream or yell as children. We were told to smile more even when we were uncomfortable, to be good. And what it meant to be good was you had to be agreeable even when you were hurting. So how many of us were taught that being liked was more important than being heard? I know that was a theme throughout my lifetime. What about yours, Dana?
Oh, definitely. And I can remember you said about the crying instead of screaming with, an ex that I'm not going to name. I can remember starting to cry and him being like, why are you crying? Well, we're in the middle of an argument. Why are you crying? I'm just like, because I want to hurt you. Not because I'm sad. Because I really like
Right.
that's exactly why. I'm not crying because I'm upset or sad. I'm crying because I really want to hurt you.
You have that
That
rage
rage
inside
was
of
in
you.
there, and I couldn't let it out in the scream that I wanted to. So I just cried.
Yeah.
And, it's because really your nervous system, it doesn't know the difference between now and then. It knows safe and unsafe. So
Yes.
we are taught that. And, it just, rage really isn't about the moment. It's about the moment that our voice was first stolen. It's all the way back. And it builds until you get that rage. And until we can let it out in that scream, we have to eventually.
Yes.
And from there, that's the beginning of your growth. And I'm not saying everybody go out and just rage someone so you can grow, but
Right. That's not what it's
not
about.
what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the psychological consequences of silencing our rage all the time, it often turns inward to depression, autoimmune disease, self-hatred, the chronic people pleasing and boundary collapse, struggles with self-advocacy. You won't speak up for yourself. You try not to be visible, and you definitely don't say no. It also leads to burnout and resentment and the slow erosion of your self-worth. That's the biggest one, is it pulls from your self-worth.
Yeah.
So we have to really reframe that sacred rage, as healing power, because sacred rage really is powerful. And rage is a truth signal. It tells us when a boundary has been crossed. It's like the guardian of our sacred self. It's not a destroyer. When you transmute it, rage becomes that clarity, that action, that leadership, and your voice begins to speak up for you again. And honestly, sacred rage has been behind every movement for change. Think about civil rights, women's rights, Me Too, even personal revolutions. Sacred rage is not about destruction. It's about reclamation and reclaiming parts of you that were taken. So how is sacred rage different from destructive anger? I can give you some examples. Destructive anger is reactive and impulsive. Sacred rage is responsive and discerning. Destructive anger wants to hurt or dominate, but sacred rage wants to reveal and liberate. Now, destructive anger rises up out of blame and it erupts from ego, but sacred rage speaks our inward truths first. and rises from the soul. And one more thing that destructive anger does is it seeks control. And sacred rage, it seeks transformation.
Right. And I think I have a story of my own that I can share to give an example. So I was leaving a bar one night and I didn't know this guy, but a friend of mine did. And he ended up, when I was getting in my car, he got in the passenger seat and asked me to take him home. And I said, I'm taking you home, get out of my car. Like, I don't even know you, get out of my car. And he wouldn't get out. He wouldn't get out. He told his friend to go ahead and leave. As I'm telling him to get out, I'm looking around for someone to help me get this guy out of my car. There's nobody around. And so his friend left, and he's like, come on, my friend left. You have to take me home. I said, I don't have to take you home. Get out of my car. Get out. He would not get out, would not get out. And something inside of me just said enough. And I started to drive. And he's telling me, you have to take a right here. And I went straight. And he had told me where he lived. So I knew where, like, the area that he lived in. And I knew where not to go. So I went straight. And he was like, yeah, turn back there. I said, I told you to get out of my car. And then he started to panic. And he's like, I have a 12-year-old daughter. I got to get home to my daughter. I'm like, you should have thought about that before you got in my car. And I kept driving. And he's going on and on. You got to take me home. You can't do this. I said, you should have gotten out of my car. We ended up on a back road. And finally I stopped and I said, how far away from home do you want to get before you get out of my car? And he had left his phone in his friend's car, so he couldn't even call anybody. And I left him out in the middle of the back road because you're not going to make me take you home. I'm not. That was my boundary. And I thought if he wouldn't get out, I'm going to show him. I'll bet he never got in another woman's car like that again.
Exactly. And you weren't impulsive. You were discerning.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what would have happened if you took him to his house? What would have happened there? And on top of that, you decided to take your power back in that situation.
Right.
And you spoke up for yourself in that situation. And that is sacred rage.
And yeah. And it felt good.
Right. Because it's not about vengeance. It's about boundaries.
Yeah.
And he incredibly crossed that boundary with you. So that's a perfect example. I mean, when we allow our sacred rage to speak without judgment, without shame, you're not unhinged. You become whole. It's like a compass pointing you towards your boundaries and clearing out all of the lies that we've heard in our head and that we've heard from society, right? It is that sacred yes to our own enoughness.
Absolutely. And I think that more times, I would have liked to have been like that more times than more. That wasn't just about that man getting in my car. I mean, that was enough, but there were so many things that happened to me before that I'd let just go, like the story I told last week about the guy in the bus. And if you want that story, you'll have to watch last week's episode. But there's so many stories like that just built up until that point, and that made me feel so liberated. And it was a turning point in my life where I'm like, no more. I'm not letting this stuff happening. It's not happening anymore.
Sacred rage is really not about being angry.
No.
It's about being honest about the things that we've endured and the things that's happened to us. It's the moment, I believe, like when a woman decides she will no longer apologize for surviving and for what she has had to do to survive. And you just literally in a moment, you flip that script right into another direction so that it's not controlling you. you gain your power back, your voice back, your truth back, and you embody that power within us that we all have. And hypnotherapy can help so much if you're feeling that rage inside. Hypnotherapy creates a safe space to feel the rage without judgment. It uncovers origin stories, where the rage is coming from. And in hypnotherapy, Dana and I both help you transform the rage into clarity, boundaries, and power. Rewriting the subconscious scripts that say your anger isn't allowed. So we help you transmute that anger to live a more peaceful life without having that rage bubbling inside of you all the time.
Right. Yeah. Sacred rage is like, it's a gift. It's a gift. It reveals your boundaries and where you need to set them, because you can't just allow people to continually cross your boundaries. You have to really set them. And I mean, some signs that are overlooked that could point to sacred rage are burnout, resentment, not just aggression. It's a passive aggressive. Passive aggressiveness, I guess I said that. Even like people pleasing, chronic people pleasing. You want to make sure everybody's happy, except for yourself. You don't care about yourself. That's a sign that you're suppressing some sacred rage, and you might want to look into that as well. It shows where your soul has been dishonored, honestly, and it fuels the creative changes in your life. And like Holly said, hypnosis can do wonders. I've helped so many people set boundaries and change their outlooks on who they're going to allow in their life to do what. So many women with history with bad relationships, let's put it that way. And changing that, flipping that script into finding healthier relationships and setting the boundaries to make that work.
So some tools that you can use on your own: scream journaling.
Mm-hmm.
Just scream it all out in your journal and put on a playlist and do rage dancing. Move the body, allow that emotion to come out of the body. And dancing is a good way to do that. Also, you can, if you want to, you can rip those scream pages out of your journal and burn them and release it. That's often powerful. That's letting it go. So those are some tools. And just knowing that your rage is it's not a burden. It's a compass. It's a compass that's showing you stronger boundaries, releasing old wounds, and that the fire that you've carried inside of you isn't meant to burn you. It's meant to forge you into who you want to be. It's about no longer apologizing just for being awake and walking across the room.
Even, you can sit and think, if you're being silenced, like who silencing your rage? I mean, who benefits from that silence? And who would benefit from you voicing yourself? It's another thing too for doing things on your own, but not really on your own. If you have like this sacred sisterhood, like Holly and I don't know how many times I call her and say, "You won't believe this," and I tell her whatever's on my mind, and she listens, and she doesn't judge me. Sometimes I'll be like, "Am I crazy for thinking that this is not right?" She's like, "No, that shouldn't happen to you. You're not. You have every right to be angry." We have these conversations, and it helps. It does. You get it out, and you learn, and then you learn how to do it outside of that sisterhood too.
Yes, there's been many times I call Dana and I'm like so in that sacred rage moment, and I just need somebody to hear it. And really, it's a validation thing. It's somebody, like Dana said, telling you, you're not crazy. That was wrong. That shouldn't have happened. That situation is not good for you. That's not where you should be. And, the community that Dana and I are building, not just with Flip That Script podcast, but also with the retreat, She Reigns Now Rise, is a community of women who are ready to radically remember who they are and rise up out of all of those burned bridges, out of burning it all down, and just rise up out of those ashes. And it's about remembering who you are and where you want to go and who you want to be. We have a special Facebook group for those who want to go to the retreat. So if that is something you're interested in, we will have that information in the comments below. But it's a community that supports each other, that listens non-judgmentally and encourages each other. And that's something valuable.
It's so valuable. You couldn't put a price on it. Even our meditations, the talks after that. I've gotten in some really deep discussions in there. And sometimes people will cry, telling their stories, and we all listen, and it's just so freeing.
It's very sacred.
I love watching these women grow that we talk to in there. It's just, I can't even explain how wonderful it is to see the growth. And I've seen it, always seen it. It's great. And then you're missing out if you're not coming to it, honestly.
Yeah, I have goosebumps just from you talking about it, because the transformation is just, it's amazing what the sisterhood can do. It really is, just having those people who have your back no matter what. And we try to base the meditations around whatever our podcast is for the week. So if you are feeling some sacred rage, or if you're not even sure if it is sacred rage, come to our meditations. And the meditation will be about sacred rage this week. And then if you want to stay afterwards, we open a whole hour time frame for the meditation and discussion. You don't have to stay the whole time. You can come and leave whenever you want. But we can talk about more about what sacred rage is and how you experience it and how it manifests.
And sometimes we get off topic. If someone has another issue that they want to discuss, we have at it.
Yes, we flow right into wherever the conversation goes.
And it's one of the best things I think I've ever been a part of.
It is. It's so encouraging. It's just that knowing that every morning we get up, we get to ground ourselves before the day takes us away with all of the to-do list and work and all of that. And we get to spend it with other women who are non-judgmental and understanding of each other in a sacred space that you can say anything. You can speak your truth without concern. And it's just special. It's just, being able to do that every morning just holds a special place with Dana and I especially, and with the other women who attend. And if you come, you don't have to talk. Of course, we have some people who come and they do not participate in the conversation. That's okay too. It takes a while to get to know each other. And some people are able to walk in and speak the first time. And some people sit quietly. And that's okay too. It's okay. Come just how you are. So some people come to meditation and they have their cameras off and they don't talk at all. And that's okay too. You can just sit quietly and listen if that's your choice. You can have your camera on or off. We like to have our coffee or tea in the mornings, and a lot of times we're in our pajamas. So it's really a sacred, safe space for you to come as you are, talking, sitting silently, whatever you need.
I think that's all we have time for today. Hopefully, we'll see you at meditation. And, that's daily at, we just changed the two. Now I'm really confused.
3 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Mountain, and 6 a.m. Pacific.
Oh, she's good with them times. I'm going to spit them out. So,
I got them down now.
and also on Sunday nights at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, we do an imagery journey, hypnotic imagery journeys. If you want to experience some hypnosis, find us on our Facebook page. We'll have the link posted there. And, like, share, subscribe to us, get us out there, send us to a friend who you think might benefit from any of the things that we talk about.
Yes, you never know who may need to hear more about what they're feeling and be able to identify that it's sacred rage that's coming out.
And again, this retreat coming up is going to be wonderful. And we are going to be screaming.
Yes. Maybe even breaking a few boards.
Right. a lot of exercise we've done there to get our rage out and get our empowerment going. So I'll see you next week. Flip bam.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.